Okay, Michael.
Yes.
Love the hat. I love the hat.
Thank you. That's the hat of an ant-man.
Ant-Man hat.
Yeah, the Caribbean hat. Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. I just want to share my testimony with everyone to encourage us all, and also to help us see what God is doing in our lives as Christians and as believers and as gospel carriers. So this is a true story from Michael Fuller. So back in 2012, before that I graduated from high school, and I love to go out with friends and just have some fun. Just try to be in that category where to belong with the rich. That's the secret I did not tell John. I decided to keep it and to share it today with everyone. So I love going out with the rich, and I used to go to their houses and work for them, and yeah, and they can give me some money. So I use this also means of gaining more experience from others. So my dad saw me and said, it's like you're not really achieving anything and you're not going anywhere. And he said, hey, I will introduce you to a friend of mine that will help you get a job. And back in 2012, and he introduced me to Willamette in Sierra Leone. And then I met Chad, and they said, okay, this is Abdul's son, and okay, you can be working in the drilling team. So my expectation was, oh yeah, it's gonna be a fancy job, and it's gonna be something that I'm gonna, something. Well, and then when I went to the field, I saw everyone was very dirty, mud everywhere. I said, what? It's the kind of job. It's the kind of job my dad is looking out for me. So, but I kept myself, and because I had all this instinct before that I need to, you know, to be a good man. So I kept myself and started with the team. But when I newly came from the city, so Freetown, and I came to so I was making a little bit different from everyone, and everyone said, "Hey, you get used to this when you when you're into this work." So whenever I clean an auger, I will normally clean my nails. So so the dirt can stay in my nails. So as time goes on, John Campbell encouraged me, and he said, "Hey, young man, you need to really work hard and you're so intelligent." And they saw the good in me. And so I began to gain a lot of interest in the work, and always ask questions. And I was really, sometimes my questions sometimes irritate elderly people. I know that. And in the drilling team. So I became better and better in the drilling team, and but I always cause a lot of problems. So when they give me some like a token, it's like $15 from the wells we do. I usually go out and spend with friends. We have and hang out, and never had any idea on savings or any other thing. So back in 2016, I was still working in the drilling team and spending my money wastefully because it was my money. So back in 2016, I've received the financial stewardship training once, and what I picked out in that training for the first time was that God was the provider, and that was the concept I picked out on all of the training on the 4 days. It was that only I picked out, and I decided to give God everything I have. And I remember giving God my future wife, my future house, my future, everything was in the future. And I still have that list. So because I never had something to show for to God except my phone and all the stuff. So I was living a kind of life that, okay, I've given God all these things. And I decided to pay my tithe partially back 2016. So the training was halfly done, like it came in half part. Another half part was missing. So yeah, but I was still faithful with that, and I also love the fact that I realized that God is a provider. So I went to Liberia, and I was being there in Liberia, and always learn how to be faithful. That God is the provider. Whenever I think of God as the provider, He helps me to do things the right way. So when time comes in 2018, I received the training for the second time. Wow, that's the boom. That's when changes comes finally. So one of the things that I went with in Uganda was that, okay, let me see what difference this one will make to me. So we did a lot of skits, and it was all different. John and Mary, acted plays, and it was fun. And I fell in love with the sessions and all. Every part was so much in line with what I was trying to do. And the only one thing I was trying to pick out also was savings. When they tried to explain some of the stories, I picked out some good parts of the savings. So I sat down after the training the day. I sat down and I realized that, hey, what has been eating all my money? That I realized I spent hanging out with friends, giving to families. In Africa, that's the culture. We all know that. And that was really, really, really making me not to save, you know. So then I said to myself, then they interviewed me, and I said to myself, when I go home, the first thing I will do is to share what I learned here and to extend this to my family. And it was a really, really big quest for me, because when I come home, I spoke with my dad and my mom and my siblings, and everyone was like, "Okay, what's new? You back from Uganda and you coming with this to be savings, talking about savings, and you want to be savings." So I told my parents that, hey, I want to start savings from my salary that I'm earning. That is in 2018, and so then my dad said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Now you're talking like a man." And my mom said, "Okay, so what's your plan?" And I said, "I don't know yet. I won't stop giving you guys money whenever I earn my salary, and I will stop giving my friends money whenever I start going out, So it was it was really a long journey from there. So my mom came up with a beautiful idea. He said, "Okay, so let's do this. When you give us a money from your salary, we'll start up a business." And I did not take it too seriously, because that doesn't say a lot, because I know they will ask me for money again. So going, I came back from Liberia and came home. Then I decided to give them some of the money that I've been saving in Liberia and give it to them, some of it to them. Then my mom did a charcoal business with it. We said, hey, let's start up a business. So we start up a charcoal business. Uh, and she was buying the charcoal from up countries. And I was like in charge of the funds. And also my sisters back in Freetown, we are selling the charcoal. And so when they sell, they save the money, they pass it to me, and I give it to mom whenever she needs it. Then I was keeping the profit by then. And so the money begins to increase. Then I said, wow, this is a good idea. And it's like there was no more, my families never have to ask me for more money, extra money, because there was a business going on that is side attraction, that is taking care of the basic need that we want, So, and it goes on and continue like that. And now it moved to a palm oil business. Mom said, hey, it looked like we're having a little much more in the savings. Let's start another business that is also interesting. And we start up a palm oil business. Then my fiancée also was on board, and she started getting interest in this, and everyone, and my sister also started getting interest in this. And now, to be honest, to cut story short, we are all into this charcoal and palm oil business. And then also there's other plans that I've been doing with my savings, and I'm still saving, and the story has not yet stopped here. It's still continuing. So this is where I stop the story for now until the ending part are coming. This is a true story from Michael, and it will continue again.
The ongoing story of Michael Flynn. This is awesome.
Thank you,
awesome.
Michael. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I know that last week you began a big project.
Ah, yes.
And what was that?
It was a building project for future home.
So you've got the foundation in now?
Yes, we are working on it now.
Yeah, the land is paid for, is that right?
The land is, yes, the land have been fully paid for.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Do you think you did something wonderful when you left the training in Uganda? You said, I need to go home and tell my family what I've learned. And so not only, I mean, you all have grown financially together because you passed this on. Yeah, and so you haven't left somebody behind. I just think that's beautiful that now you're giving is to your family to start a business. So now your giving is, you can set more money aside for other projects. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's affected your sister. This is just an awesome story. You know, these financial workshops, they're really such good news. Mm-hmm. And it should be shared. And your family's, your dad's a pastor.
Uh-huh.
And this business is helping support being a pastor, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a wonderful example of stewardship. You also said you had to figure out what was eating all my money.
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
Yeah, so I as I said from the story, it was when I realized that, hey, you know, I need to make something right. I need to start savings. It was when I started, asking myself that question, and also said to myself, I need to start saving. What has been eating all my money out? And I realized that, friends, and also, family, whenever you have salary, then you give without no purpose. Well, it's really kind of difficult. And then I said to myself, okay, I need to be giving now, meaningful giving, not just giving, but a meaningful one, something that is really meaningful,
Yeah.
Then I said to
myself, today, you told me that you keep track of what you're spending.
Yes.
And how are you doing that?
That's correct. And so it was difficult for me to start up using just keeping track of my money. So, well, an app was introduced to us back in 2016. It was called the Smart Receipt. So I started using it, then I stopped. But after the second training, I go back and review that app and looked at it and download another app. So I use the Smart Receipt app and also Income versus Expense app. So whenever I spend money, I just type it down in my phone. And at the end of the month, it showed me everything I spend and everything I earn. And I just see the difference, and I know where exactly I'm heading and where exactly I've come from. So this is more practical.
So be honest about this. When you first started recording your spending, was that hard?
It was difficult. I stopped.
You stopped, yeah.
I stopped. I said, this is not working. Like in Africa, we have, normally, especially in Sierra Leone, we have this saying that it's not working, it's not going to work, what God has provided for today will only be for today, and tomorrow is in His hands. That's the saying we have in Sierra Leone normally when
Wow.
somebody walks. And it was really difficult for me to start that. And whenever I go to a shop and the people said, see me typing what I bought at the shop, they start to stare. And even some of my friends start to stare and say, hey, you stingy. They start calling him names. And yeah, well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what is it that kept you persevering on? Was there something you had in mind or a goal or something that kept you going? I mean,
good question.
Yeah. So I was always inspired by my dad used to tell us that his dad never achieved anything, and he was like he was like a caretaker for other people's land. Can you imagine that? So he always take care of lands and said to himself, no, I don't want another person's property, so I will never acquire a piece of land. So Freetown, my great grandfather was one of the people that we are the brain behind Freetown to brush, taking care of people's land, in some places in Freetown. So, and my dad keep on telling that story to us, and he's really hardworking man also, and he passed this on to us. He said we should never be somebody that don't achieve, an underachiever, something like that. And I said to myself, this is a very inspiring story, and I don't want to end up like my great grandfather, and these things keep me going.
Wow. Yeah, and so so you're engaged now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you had and we talked about this, that you had so many goals all at once. You save for land, save for building a house, save for marriage cost, and then you and your fiance had a dream of starting an orphanage. You'd actually gotten some land for that to happen on, and you were doing all these things all at the same time. And then we had a talk. You want to describe?
Yeah. So when all these things popped up, I put these things in place, and it popped up, and I was so confused, within me. And I decided to say, hey, what else could I do? And I said, okay, let me talk to John and Mary. And then when I talked to them, and they just remind me of what we did, and I found peace of joy. And they said, hey, Michael, you need to handle what's important. And when they told me that, then I really, really realized, wow, I need to do what's the important thing. So they asked me to do what's very, very much important. Then I started it, and it's all working as they have said. It's just going well, because I tend to discuss it with them. And I was really relieved, no stress, and I was happy because I discussed that with them.
Yeah, and so that's an important part, that you had a lot of stress because you were trying to do a lot of really wonderful things all at the same time. And we decided to just put them in line and do one wonderful thing at a time. Yeah, and so, but you mentioned the absence of stress now. Talk about how having a plan brings peace.
Sorry, I have to cut off my video, the internet.
Okay.
So can you come again? Or did you ask me a question?
Yeah, so you were very stressed out. Now you're at peace, but you're really accomplishing your goals faster now. But talk about how having a plan helps you sleep at night.
Yeah, I think it is very important for me, because putting down my plans and talking to somebody that I trust, that's the good part of it. and the Bible reminds us to seek godly counsel. And that part, I feel like, oh yes, I've achieved that part. I said to myself, wow, that's a good part. That's the bold step I took. And setting those plans and those goals, it's really working, because I think that God just walk in his ways that he wanted me to do. Not my way, but his ways, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you also said in your story something, Michael, I haven't heard anybody say before. In the seminar, we write down everything we have on a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
That's no longer ours. We're giving God, since he's the provider, we turn everything over to him. And you said, I didn't have anything except my phone. So what I wrote down, I gave him my future.
Yes.
You gave him your future house, your future family, your future wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was.
And God's still providing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept, when these things have been when I got a land, I just ticked it and I said, wow, I worked on future land, and I was happy. I was so happy that I said future, that I was just amazed and thank him. And Johnny,
Yeah.
this is just wonderful time, and everything was just working out well as God has planned it,
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, Michael, from talking to you, you have such a passion to share this stewardship message with others. Would you talk a little bit about how God is working in your heart in that regard?
Yeah, it's really amazing, because one of the things I've learned lately is that we came with nothing. That's from the Bible for sure, and we absolutely can't return with anything. Whenever I remember this scripture, there's a time I said, "Hey, Michael, let me add 80 years more to my age." Then I then I said, I will be an old man, and I'm very, very much old. What have I done for the Lord lately? And without people, there are a lot of people giving me a lot of advice, very good ones. That is why it's very important to talk to people that give you godly counsels. And so when I said to myself that, then this helps me inspire other people. You come to my place presently, to the area that I'm living, people know me because of my stewardship. People normally call me now manager. They call me manager, you know. And you go to some communities, whenever kids see me, I pass this message to them. And I've been doing this with wash sessions, mixing the wash and the financial stewardship. And I talked to John and Mary, and we created some stories that are going in line with management and all that stuff. So it's really been amazing of how God is using me to tell others about these stories, not only keeping it to myself.
That's awesome.
So some people call you stingy man, some people call you manager. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
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 And I guess I hear in Michael's story and in Wayma's story too, that it took a couple different trainings or a couple different people telling.
Yeah.
And I want to say that because it happened to us.
Yeah.
And it also happens here in the United States lots of times when people go through the training the first time, it's like opens their mind. And the second time they start doing it more.
Yeah.
And then also when I see people start teaching it, that's when it really takes hold. So Michael, I mean, I'm just so impressed with you and Wayma and how you guys are leading with this. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Changing lives.
Yeah. So we have a